One of the problems I see about a lot of teaching in the church and in other places is that people like to try to fix the way other people act. A lot of people, their teaching tends to be focused on people's behavior. Do you know what I'm talking about? You've heard those sermons before, haven't you? You can't be drinking, you can't be smoking, you can't be going to the bar, and they go on and on and on about what you should and should not do. Right? Now, let's stop for a second here. I'm not trying to say that's wrong. Okay, I'm not trying to say that's wrong, but what I'm suggesting is this. People are not going to change their behavior until something else changes first. What do you think that is? What's going to change before the behavior?
Life change.
Life change. Okay, but let's be more specific though. What do you mean by life change?
They have to change their heart and their taboo.
Okay. Their heart, that's getting close to the idea of what we're talking about. Okay. I'm not going to do anything that isn't first flowing out of the way I think, out of my heart motivation. Right? The way I think, the way my heart is aligned, and who it's aligned to is going to determine what I do. Right? So as a teacher, if I'm really looking to cause learning toward life change, I think that my primary task is not to teach people what to do, but I want to teach people how to think rightly about God, rather than do rightly for God. I want them to think rightly about God, because once they think rightly about God and His Word and who He is and who they are in relationship to Him, then what's going to happen to the behavior? It's going to change, right? The way they think, that's where their behavior is going to line up to, right? Let's talk about something here, and there's a term I want to use called worldview. You guys familiar with that term? Heard that before? As a teacher, my goal is I want people to have a biblical worldview. I want them to think biblically. Okay, what I mean by you know what I mean by worldview? What does that word mean, do you think? Yeah, how I view the world, right? I mean, how I see things around me. Worldview is critical. It affects everything about me, right? Let me show you something here. Let's see, who'd like to try these on? Let's give them to Jenny. Try these on. These are some sunglasses for Jenny. Nice, you're looking good there. All right, good. Now, Jenny had just put on some sunglasses, and tell me, Jenny, now that you're looking through these sunglasses, what do you see? Describe how has your vision changed?
It is not clear. It's like it's a bluish.
Everything's blue, right?
Yes.
Now, when Jenny looks around the room, everything's got a blue tint to it. Now, do you guys see everything blue? No, we don't see it the same way Jenny does. Okay, but Jenny's looking through a certain lens, right? She's got these lenses on, and she's looking through them, and it affects everything that she sees, right? So she sees life through a pair of lenses, and those lenses are different than the way you and I see things. Okay? It affects the way she acts and thinks about everything around her. Okay? Thank you, Jenny. That's what worldview is. It's like a pair of glasses. Okay? It colors and affects and shades everything that I see and the way I respond to life around me. Okay? So check this out. This may be how we want to look at things as far as worldview is concerned. Okay? We have a triangle here. You can draw this triangle in your notes if you want to, but at the base of the triangle is my worldview. My worldview is my standard for truth. It's how I see reality. It's the basis, the foundation for the way I think. Does that make sense? The very foundation for the way I think and feel about all of life, the way I see life, that's my worldview. Okay? And we all have one. Right? Does that make sense? We all have a worldview. And this is what's interesting. Going back to what we just talked about there, let me show you something here. I got a quick video to show you here. Okay, back in 1989, there was this horrific plane crash up in Iowa. This is a United Airlines flight. But I want to show you this real quick. They actually got video of it. Check this out. There's the plane. It's not playing yet. Hold on. See it going down. Went behind the trees. Okay, there it is. You see it on fire? Now it's tumbling. Look at that. A fireball across the runway. Pretty unbelievable sight, huh? Plane landed, caught on fire, started doing cartwheels across the runway, completely fell apart. How many people do you think lived through that plane crash? Actually, surprisingly enough, there were almost 300 people on that plane, and 185 people lived. Okay, 185 people survived that crash. Sorry. Trying to get back to my show here. There we go. And this was very interesting because all of these people survived the crash, and the media, I mean, this is a media frenzy, right? It was all over the world news, and they started interviewing some of the people that survived. And here were some of the responses. Someone thought, this is the response about, why do you think this happened? Why would this plane crash and some people died, some people didn't? I mean, just trying to get some thoughts about why in the world something like this could ever happen. One person just thought it was coincidence. I mean, it could happen to anyone. I mean, you have so many flights, and it's just bound to happen eventually, right? Okay. Another thought that God had a reason for it. This person actually suggested that God had a plan for this plane crashing, that ultimately there was going to be some good out of it because of God's plan for it to happen, that he could be seen and glorified. Another person thought, you know what? I don't think this was God, because if it were God, then why didn't all the bad people die, right? They thought if the bad people died and the good people lived, then there's a God. But since that's not what happened, I don't believe in God. Another person felt that there was just too much negative psychic energy, right? Just a lot of bad karma. And because of this negative energy, it caused the plane to go down. I mean, think about this. One event, this plane crashes, and you have all these different views of why, right? Why did all these people think this way? Because they all had a worldview. They all experienced something, life happens, and guess what? They interpret it by the way they think, right? And the way they think, that's what their worldview is. Okay? Now let's take the next step here. Based on what my worldview is, I'm going to form a set of values, right? Values are what is important to me. That's what I value. So for example, you and I, we are looking from a biblical worldview, right? So do we value honesty? Yes. Do we value self-control? Do we value love? Yes. Does everybody value those things? No. Because not everybody has the same worldview. But because of my worldview, I'm going to value certain things. Other people that have a different worldview aren't going to value the same things I value. Some people don't value honesty. They just want to get what they can get. And we've seen that in corporate America, but that's another conversation for another time, right? So your values are based on this foundation of the way you think, right? So the way I think determines what is important to me, and then the things I value, what is important to me, is then going to determine my actions, right? So I have a biblical worldview.